A contentious title and a possibly enraging thumbnail, I definitely made you click on this video to make you ask why I would even think this character is better than you think, or even on a similar level to new Gen 11 players. Well, before you leave an angry comment down below, I can provide you an answer with proof if you allow me to figuratively cook. If this video convinces you that Agi is a better player than you once thought, or you already agree with me, why not leave a like and subscribe? I could also say the same thing about liking and subscribing for anyone who enjoys this video, so yeah, if you do enjoy, be sure to do that. I also have a BLUELOCK Discord that you can join where you can interact with me as well as other BLUELOCK fans. A link will be left down below. So why do I think this way? Agi hasn't been a relevant player in the story since the Munich vs Mannschine game, so what's the point of even giving him the light of day? That to me is fairly simple. People don't know this man's accolades as deeply as I do, and I'll be going through the Munich vs Mannschine game to prove to everyone that you have been simply reading whilst I have been analysing. Agi first debuted in chapter 173 where he immediately became a standout character. Not only was he one of few black representations in this manga series, but this distinct .eye look was enough to make him recognisable and intrigued me in what he has to show in terms of skill set. We are left to ponder this character's place in the story and match for multiple chapters until finally in chapter 178, 5 chapters after his introduction, we get to see his vital character attributes, a mentor and a piece of Nagi's development. This is something I will definitely explain later on in the video, but Agi is solely holding the purpose as a centre forward to help Nagi grow, and this is evident as soon as we see the two running upfield together. Chris states Mannschine is an overwhelmingly offensive team that specialises in speed and swift counters, with Nagi and Agi being the forefront of this strategy. Ryo makes a pass to Nagi, and for the first time in ages we get to see Nagi actively dribble on his own, utilising his zero reset turn to break past Munich's defence. Isagi openly stating that this is not the Nagi he used to know, as Nagi was now a player that has an attack in which starts with him. But why is Nagi taking this different approach? Going to chapter 179, named Mid-Development, we gather some further context to this. Chris asked Nagi, like he previously did with Ryo and Shigure, what kind of football does the ideal you desire? Nagi's answer, though simple, gets straight to the point in stating that, I want to be Isagi. Isagi Yoichi, BLUELOCK's poster boy? You two rivals? Yeah, something like that. Specifically, how do you imagine winning? Imagine. Dunno. I just don't want to lose to him. Come on, that's not good enough to become best in the world. I haven't really thought about that. I just want to be Isagi. For now, that's all. A factor that I never personally see brought up is this whole interaction, as Nagi's basically setting himself up for failure, whilst Chris Prince had to unfortunately work with what he has at his disposal. Nagi's one goal is to defeat Isagi, never thinking about becoming the best in the world like Chris Prince nudged him to acknowledge by stating if that's really all he wants to achieve. After Chris Prince collected data on Nagi, he does of course bring up Nagi's talent of relaxing his body to cushion the ball for trapping and controlling. However, Nagi gets criticised for his complete lack of creativeness due to his dependence on others. So Nagi is in fact a player only as good as the person providing him the ball. So Chris enlightens Nagi to play an active football, and as we saw from him earlier, a football that starts with Nagi's trapping weapon, although Nagi finds this level of effort to be quite a pain. Finally, we get to the actual vocal point of this video once again when Agi enters into the room. I have done a lot of yapping already, but this is where you non-believers need to listen closely going forward. Before we even see what this guy is made of in a match, we dive into his philosophy. He offers to help Nagi with his training, stating he is a weirdo who likes unusual stuff, and how Nagi's ecosystem has intrigued him. Chris Prince even agrees Agi is an amazing asset, stating he is a pathological football analyzer with the nickname known as Doctor. Agi offers his diagnosis immediately, presenting Nagi with a trap that brings things back to zero. And to explain what that is, it's basically a reset of the game's natural or chaotic momentum into Nagi's own favour, which would allow him to create his own football. Already, Agi has helped with Nagi's development, as we saw step 1 executed. So how about we see Nagi and Agi play together going forward? Agi is strangely positioned on centre forward, and if this team is really constructed around Nagi, why is Agi the one to play as the forward of the team? Simple, helping Nagi's creativity. Being able to receive passes from the front of where he is heading instead of just behind innovates so much more. It provides Nagi the opportunity to use his skills to play a more active football by first getting the ball to Agi for then Agi to assist him with his newly crafted innovation. As much as this is a beneficial step, Nagi's own lazier mentality is what perceives this as a pain, leading into Agi explaining two types of annoyances. When there's something that you have to do but don't want to, passive annoyance. And when there's something that you just thought of that you really want to do, active annoyance. Both these annoyances sum up who Nagi usually is and who Agi wants Nagi to be. Let me provide small examples of these annoyances. Passive annoyance usually refers to what we deem to be a hassle, such as chores. Active annoyance is pursuing things you want to do the most that you think of when avoiding passive annoyances, such as playing games, or in my case, making a video about Agi instead of cleaning my room. What Nagi wants to pursue is active annoyance without the need for passive annoyance, whilst Agi wants Nagi to take on passive annoyance to then help Nagi's wants with active annoyance. So as much as Nagi wants to beat Isagi, Nagi needs to do things that he doesn't want to do in order to actually beat Isagi, such as thinking much like Isagi and Ryo whilst playing. Making his own football much like them, using both annoyances instead of just one, is, as what Agi states, what makes you grow. Now that we're on this panel, we can actually look at the aspects of Agi that are gameplay centered, so you all can understand why I believe Agi is so much better than you think. He clearly has a great brain for analysis and diagnosis of players, but here we can see his capabilities. Very long limbs to pair with his immense height. Easily he was able to change the trajectory of the ball even when being held back by a Munich defender, getting a much higher jump with seemingly no effort at all. He also has the capabilities to make flexible and powerful passes from even this angle, so could you imagine if he actually took a shot here? Well, through this we actually get into the argument of, if Agi is so good, why didn't he score? People will immediately chop this up and say that Agi just can't. But why? He has the available shot power that even Gagumaru acknowledged, not to mention his body movement and flexibility to be able to just use his leg to pass to the right when even mid-air, and clearly the Munich defender was doing jack shit anyways. Well, this is going to seem really complex to you if you haven't picked it up already. He is there to help with Nagi's development, not score. Agi playing centre forward is merely to give Nagi more opportunities for how he is able to grow and score for his team with the use of his own football and creativity. Nagi starts with the next ball instead of receiving an immediate pass, and because of this, he's able to gradually build up his push with someone else who can assist him thanks to the use of his innovation instead of the other way around. Sure, Nagi's first goal attempt didn't succeed due to Yukumiya's interference, but this was a push that would have gotten Nagi the goal otherwise, as Gakumaru was clearly not prepared to save a strike with where he was positioned. Going through these annoying steps in order to score his goals, Nagi was now in mid-development. Of course, being in mid-development, Nagi has some clear areas he needs to improve, in which Agi quickly points out with his latest diagnosis, commenting his pass was too rough and someone other than Agi wouldn't have been able to reach it. Of course, we can take that as a figure of speech to show how sloppy Nagi is with his passing, but considering how tall, flexible and lengthy Agi is, I don't doubt he might be one of the few players in the Blue Lock series who could have made a pass out of that ball, and even be capable of scoring if he wanted to. Agi is then further able to grasp on Nagi's idea of using a juggling shot. He is actively being taught lessons by Agi during the match, like it's some sort of trial run. Isagi is able to expand upon this as he also sees how Nagi up to this point is a football newbie when it comes to making his own football, and I believe only someone like Agi with that level of patience and open diagnosis can help Nagi with it. Ryo even opens up to Isagi, saying that because of their experiments they might actually lose the match. All in all, it's Nagi's genius that is enough to influence others to help accelerate his growth, as we see with Ryo, then Isagi, and now Agi and Chris Prince. And if he kept going on that upward trajectory, it would birth the greatest genius in the world. Considering the later context that title holds, Nagi definitely fits the category of genius, and that's not even up for debate. Manshine is a team of presence and creation, which makes this version of Manshine one of the highest potential teams in the NEL in my opinion. As Manshine prepares for a corner kick from Yukumiya's clearance, the biggest threat for this opportunity is very clearly Agi. To explain how unknowingly tall Agi is, here's a panel from earlier with Nagi and Agi standing in front of one another on the same plane of field. And remember, Nagi is 6'3". I say unknowingly tall because Agi doesn't have a confirmed height measurement, but at the very least he must be 6'4", and at the very most he could be the tallest character that we've seen in the Blue Lock series thus far, standing at a whopping 6'6", taller than the previous tallest character, Yukio Ishikari, who stood at 6'5". But that's my speculation, with how much the manga love to imply and state how long Agi is. Anyway, here's that example that you ordered if you disagree with my prior statements, as Agi makes a long stride towards a low trajectory pass. Even with Isagi holding him back, he still gains distance on him, and easily reaches the ball and somehow makes a behind flick pass. That feat is fucking insane. But this also seemed like another prime opportunity for Agi to score if he really wanted to, considering the angle in which he pulled off with a pass. With that amount of power to send it at a high altitude, he could have easily scored through Gagamaru's legs. Isagi even states a quote that he's not only good at air battles, he's also world class in football technique. And Isagi is a reliable source when it comes to seeing world class football technique after facing the World 5, Sai Itoshi, and now competing with Michael Kaiser as references. Agi of course chooses not to score as he made a pass for Nagi's idea that would have landed accurately right before him if not for Kaiser stopping the ball before he could even properly reach Nagi. Agi gave up 2 goal scoring opportunities for Nagi's innovation, and yes, neither pass resulted in a goal, but it demonstrated absolute skill and technique of a Manshine City professional player. Something I do want to point out is the implications of Agi revisiting his moments of meeting Kaiser prior to this match. That could show that Agi himself is in fact a U20 player for England, but this is once again mere speculation. Also, small side note, this video isn't to say Agi is New Gen 11 or deserves to hold the title. That thumbnail is all for show. I'm just arguing my case why he's so much better of a player than people actually believe he is. Stop slandering my boy. The next time we see some more Agi analysis is in chapter 183 after Kaiser threads the needle for a goal for Munich. Agi visibly gets goosebumps from this goal performance, seemingly a sensation on par with a fetish as he only seeks to know more. Kinda a freak though. However, upon Kunigami's steal on Isagi's goal attempt making the score 2-1, now we get to one of the more contentious plot lines of the NAL. I need to show the world that Reo Mikage can fight by himself. Hey, I wanna win, and Agi's stuff doesn't work because I'm still in mid-development under his tutoring. Can we team again so I can be lazy? Of course, Pookie Pie. Anything for you, my love. So yeah, as we all know, Nagi and Reo teamed up again. Whoopee. So with the game restart, Agi was none the wiser, as he starts analysing Isagi, addressing how his movements have leveled up to become the Eye of the Storm. Of course, Agi's priorities have not changed for the moment, and will seek to awaken Nagi as he comes face to face with Kunigami for a matchup, an opportunity for both of them to showcase their current skills. Agi was able to outmaneuver and outstrengthen the muscle freak, maintaining possession of the ball, whilst everyone else observes the clash of titanous presences on the field. And with a Chigiri miscalculation as Agi broke past Kunigami, Isagi and Kaiser both anticipated the Doctor's meta point and made him fall flat on his face on the pitch. It took the combined efforts of Kunigami, Isagi and Kaiser to get the ball off Agi, so that's a point in his favour in my opinion. But now Agi has to watch his project unravel from the conditioning he applied to it prior. Reo and Nagi begin to exchange the ball between them, back and forward, as Agi screams out that Reo is using Nagi for his own ideas, taking away his creativity and activeness by making football start with him and not Nagi. It's feeding into that active annoyance without providing him any reason to take on passive annoyances to awaken. Reo simply states Agi did not get anything out of Nagi anyway, but that is simply not true. And Nagi, who has been more of a reliable independent asset, may have been slowly growing, but at least he was growing. But through this collaboration with Reo, Nagi will stay stagnant and by proxy suffer diminishing returns after accomplishing his one lazier aspired for aim. Nagi started playing the game on easy mode thanks to Reo implementing his creativeness for Nagi's sake, and due to that, he will not grow. And whilst his drive led him to awaken for one world-class goal, his active annoyance was accomplished, and now he was only left with passive annoyance. The goal that both Chris and most of all Agi wanted Nagi to aspire for was all given up in pursuit of one unreplicatable goal. Agi approached Reo with a somber tone and a disappointed vibe. Reo was satisfied with what he accomplished, as he believes he was the one that Nagi needed in order to awaken and not Agi. Agi in response shows his disinterest in the individual too lazy to create his own football. Nagi only had one question after the fact though. What comes after beating Isagi? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call backwards development. Agi was needed for Nagi's growth, and that asset was willingly taken from his hands in pursuit of a dream shared with another instead of a dream of his own. Passive annoyance with no remaining active annoyance, or rather, a need to do something with no desire to actually need to try. I've talked a lot about Nagi and Agi instead of just Agi and his individual capabilities, but that's because Agi's capabilities doesn't just have to focus on his physical presence. It's also about mental development, and how his title as Doctor could only provide Nagi a diagnosis prognosis for a continuous dream, and it may have been likely that if Nagi stuck with Agi, he would have never gotten that goal and Manshine would still lose the game, but as this was Nagi's quickest route to beat Isagi, he took a shortcut instead of focusing on long-term growth and a eventual proper awakening. An elaborate plan ruined, and Agi wasting his talents as a player in the process. It's too bad that even Chris feeds into Ryo's ideal when he subs onto the pitch, letting Ryo restrict Nagi even considering Agi's better judgment, and this is why no one comments on how Chris Prince has failed as a master. From this point forward, we don't get much Agi, but to further back up my earlier statements regarding Nagi, here's Ego reciting what I said in his own blunt and down to the point way. So allow me to read this starting from Ego commenting on Yukibi's goal attempt that was stopped by Chris Prince. Be sure to listen carefully.
If that shot had gone in, the after effects would have been disastrous in the long run, just like that last goal.
Huh? Are you talking about Nagi's goal?
Yep, that shitty fluke of a goal.
What? What are you... That goal was amazing. His goal is already blowing up on social media. Nagi Senshiro is the best player in the world, and that goal is already the best goal of the century?
Really? All I felt from it was a sense of foreboding.
Wait, what do you mean? A goal is a goal. Isn't BLUELOCK a place to create the world's #1 striker? So, what's wrong?
It's impossible for him to replicate that goal ever again. Nagi Seishiro's talent is off the charts, but even for him that went a bit too well. Attaining success above your talent level can have dangerous after effects. The depths of his ego are about to be tested.
To continue on with that point, Ego clarifies the difference between confidence and delusion, and whilst Nagi's delusion paid off from a seemingly miracle goal, Yukime's didn't, which actually provided him more realistic results because as we see in the game following Manshine, he did not perform near to the same level as he did in this match against Ubers, since he didn't score or even get a notable playmaking feat. However, since Nagi was bumped up so immensely from a goal misidentified to be a consistent ability to only fail to perform to that standard again, he unfortunately suffered an immense drawback due to his goal being primary elements of delusion and active annoyance instead of confidence, and both annoyances coinciding. If we want to blame Agi for the lack of Nagi's development, we now know that it was Nagi and Ryo's misjudgment that led them down this delusional path, and Agi felt uninterested to feed into this fantasy instead of rationality, as his analytical mindset wanted Nagi to strive for a long-term goal with the use of his creativeness and his own football. Agi going forward had less screen time and only occasional feats to display his level of skill, such as receiving a very high ball from Chigri's pass and blitzing a Munich defender with a low center of gravity attack, determined to win the game before Kaiser stops Agi's charge, which only made the ball land to Ryo. It's because of Agi's reliance on Nagi without truly knowing the type of player that he is, he used his talents to benefit a lazy genius, who was not willing to put in the work quite like he does, which only led to his disappointment. The game ends with Munich winning with the score at 3-2, and with the end of that match, Ryo getting a bit of 40 million yen and Nagi getting a bit of 88 million yen. From here we could see that drawback of that miracle goal not being a replicatable feat. So if you ever wondered why Nagi and Ryo suffered so immensely with their bid total, this video will definitely tell you why, but in the process, I've explained to you all why Agi is a better player than you all think. It's unfortunate that going forward we don't see as many gameplay feats from him, but at least he was never wrong with his approach when it came to Nagi, as Nagi, after what he perceived as beating Isagi, was only just mere copium to feed into his active annoyance. He still acknowledged that he lost the game and asked why Ryo was so happy comparatively, implying that he had a moment where he considered that he never beat Isagi, much rather he got one over him momentarily, as even Nagi doesn't seem too motivated to actually be the #1 striker, as his aspirations were extremely temporary. In chapter 245 we see Agi actively playing, but through Chris's demand he is forced to now make a pass to Nagi instead of going for the point himself, with a very much frustrated look as he follows his direct orders. And after Nagi blundered his goal chance and Uber's winning 3-1 over Manshine, Agi approaches the deluded pair. As things stand, you two won't be able to level up anymore. The next time is your last chance. Before you both become insignificant randoms, break up your partnership, Ryo. Agi continues after Ryo's seemingly worthless backchat. You're too codependent. If you genuinely wish to become stronger, to grow and evolve into a world-class player, sometimes it's necessary to have the guts to cast aside those precious to you. An aspect that relates to throwing away your aspirations and returning to zero, not only a skill that Nagi had possession of to create his own football, but also a state in which Nagi and Ryo can't reach, which has has provided constant benefits to those who pursue it, but these two cannot reach it as long as their delusional partnership continues. Alright, let's conclude this video and discuss all the factors which have made Agi not only a great player, but also one of the best analytical minds of the entire series. He was able to make statements in line with Ego's ones indirectly, and had the right overall mindset in regards to how to evolve Nagi. I do believe he had the goal scoring potential in order to score easily in situations where he passed to Nagi, after we see his already inhuman capabilities of reaching the ball and passing from absurd angles with a strong shot power as implied by Gargamaro. If he wasn't so focused on developing Nagi and played more like his competition, there is no way Agi wouldn't have been able to score at least once. He also was showing feats of world-class football technique as implied by Isagi, and yes, maybe not on the exact level of skill as Kaiser, but definitely holds a set of unique abilities that undoubtedly make him a way better player than you all perceive him to be. He also had an insane stride feat which I believe initially could match or even beat the initial stride of Loki's in terms of reaching the ball. This isn't me saying Agi is faster than Loki, rather than his height would provide him extreme benefit in retrieving a close ball with the use of his stature. Lastly, as much as his original plan failed to awaken Nagi, he did not fail his team. In fact, his team failed him, as even Chris, the master striker of his team, as much as he provides amazing training regimens to fit specific body types, he's still an immature player who favours irrationality over Agi's better answer with the use of analytical approach, which always led to Chris to favour his players' aspirations instead of what would truly help them to grow into their ideal selves. Anywho, that was my overall breakdown of Agi's character and why he's a very underappreciated and overlooked character regarding his work with Nagi, alongside the reasoning why he's a much better player than you all originally thought. This became a lot more of a downfall of Nagi and Reo video than I ever meant it to be, which goes to show how important Nagi and Reo's characters are to how Agi is presented in the story, as well as how frequently aspects of these two characters only support Agi's statements. Thank you all so much for watching this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, peace.